Reading Intervention, an Introduction. In this module, we're going to introduce some basic concepts about reading. We will look at reading intervention from the perspective of speech-language pathology, and we hope this information will be helpful to you as you work with students who have reading disabilities. Reading has two major elements. The first is decoding, and the second is language comprehension. In other words, students must be able to recognize the word and understand the meaning of the language being used, such as having a background knowledge of the topic they're reading about, or understanding the vocabulary. Decoding and language comprehension are both necessary for reading comprehension. Here's Scarborough's reading rope. This is just a really interesting picture to look at to kind of help you understand the many components of reading. As you can see, skilled reading is very complex. Language comprehension requires background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. Word recognition requires phonological awareness, the ability to decode words, and sight recognition of words. These modules will focus on the step-by-step instruction and skills that are necessary for children to be successful decoders, but keep in mind that reading is much more than just decoding words. Research consistently suggests that children who have reading disorders require differentiated and explicit instruction in language in order to develop decoding skills. What does this mean? Don't assume. Instruction becomes explicit when the teacher makes fewer assumptions about the pre-existing skills and abilities that their students have. Provide more opportunities. Provide as many opportunities as possible for your students to learn. This might include lengthening total instruction time, reducing teacher and student ratios, and increasing the number of instructional interactions per day or per week. Also, provide more support to your students. Special levels of support must be provided for instruction for children with reading disabilities. The teacher might enable a student to complete a task they otherwise would not be able to do by redirecting the student's attention to a key piece of information, or maybe by breaking the task up into smaller, easier to manage tasks. The teacher leads the child to do all the thinking required, but without the teacher's support, the child would not be able to complete the task. Eventually, the goal is that the child will be able to go through this task independently. Within this explicit instruction, reading specialists or special educators should follow a continuum of steps, beginning with the fundamental skills that are necessary for reading. The continuum increases in complexity as the child masters each skill. Prior to learning about letters or orthography, a child must master phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is the ability to understand the role that sounds play in language. The first step for teaching phonological awareness is instruction in syllables. Once the child has mastered syllables, they are ready to begin learning about rhyming. After rhyming, instruction should focus on matching initial sounds and/or final sounds in words. These first three skills make up the lower levels within phonological awareness. The more complex steps involve blending sounds into words, segmenting words into sounds, and finally deleting and manipulating phonemes. These complex skills fall under phonemic awareness. After instruction in phonological awareness and phonemic awareness is complete, the child should begin to learn sound-letter correspondence, which is matching sounds to the letters, followed by morphology. In this next section, we will describe the first steps a child needs to learn in order to achieve phonological awareness, which is syllables. Syllables are units of speech made up of an uninterrupted sound. They could be just a vowel sound, or it could be a vowel sound plus one or more surrounding consonants. Here are some examples of possible syllable structures. These structures are easier for students to learn, so you could begin with these when you're teaching. The first structure is just simply a vowel. An example is I. The next structure is a consonant followed by a vowel. An example of that is we. The last example here is a vowel followed by a consonant, which would be in. Syllables are either closed or open. A closed syllable has a short vowel and ends in a consonant. Some examples are sip, jam, and gotten. An open syllable has a long vowel and it ends with that vowel. Some examples of this are he, go, and hi. While counting syllables might seem obvious to some, for children with reading disabilities, this can actually be pretty complicated. When you're teaching this to your students, you may want to use the strategies of clapping the rhythm or counting on your fingers so that they can hear the natural breaks or the rhythm of the word. Pumpkin, powerful, retrospect. Understanding syllable stress helps students read unknown words, which can help them predict the correct stress pattern. For single syllable words, the vowel always receives the stress. In multisyllabic words, there can be primary stress and secondary stress. So for example, in the word telephone, the first E has primary stress and the O in phone receives secondary stress. For compound words, the vowel in the first syllable is usually stressed: popcorn, hot dog, somersault. Prefixes and suffixes usually do not receive stress. An example of this is the word watches. The suffix is the es at the end of the word, which does not receive any stress. The stress in the word is in the root word watch.